to my MSR Access 1 tent review. I've been using it for the past 3 months from mid-November through to mid-February for my 2,500 mile hike through British history. That's been in Wales and southwest England, and I've pitched it on cliffs, forests and on snow. So I have a fair rounded view as to how it performs in British winter. As you can see in my MSR Access 1 tent, it's pretty big on space. I'm 5'6", or 167 centimetres, and I'm currently sitting on a roll mat that's about 6 centimetres high, and I've still got a fair chunk of space above my head. The side of it as well are diamond shaped ground sheet, which means you have extra space going down the sides to put bits and bobs in. Also in the porch, I've got my trusty Osprey backpack, which fits in nicely down one side, and the other I put my boots, cooking paraphernalia, and generally anything else like wet clothes that I do not want to bring into the tent. I've been using this for the past 3 months in British winter. It has rained and it has worked brilliantly in terms of its waterproofing. I haven't, fingers crossed, had an issue with that.
Even though it is frequently packed away wet in the morning.
It's freestanding, which is another bonus, because if you are on frozen ground and you can't actually put pegs down into it, or you're on solid foundations, you can pitch the tent just with the poles, but I would recommend that you find rocks to pull out the guy lines to reduce condensation. Pitching time, it takes me about 10 to 15 minutes to do this solo, and that is because there are a fair few guy lines that need to be pulled out as well. It's not optional with this tent. Another major bonus for me is the fact that it's green. Now, as a single female hiking throughout Britain, I don't want to draw my attention to myself, so I don't want a blazing orange tent. Is it warm? Yes, it is. You can noticeably feel the difference between the outside and inside temperatures. But, and this is a big but, that is because there is only one vent, and that's the inner mesh window on the inside door. The downside of that is condensation, and it is a nightmare. I am not a fan of the tent from that aspect at all. Most mornings I will wake up and my down sleeping bag will be damp. Condensation clings onto all sides of the inner. The bathtub is normally soaking as well. I do my damnedest to keep the condensation out. I have got the footprint to go underneath. I use a Mac in the Sack poncho inside to cover the bottom, which I pull up at the sides to try to keep the wet bathtub from touching my sleeping bag. I use a bivy bag over my Rab Endurance Neutrino sleeping bag, which I shouldn't have to do. These things are adding weight. Another huge issue I've had with the tent is with the poles. MSR claim that they have strengthened them by using something called Eastern silicone. In my opinion, they are flimsy. I've had 2 poles go on me within 2 months, and that hasn't even been in wind at all. One of them, the inner bit, snapped off, and it actually looks like it's got stuck inside the other pole. No idea how that even happened. I must say though, the supplier who I bought the tent from, EMS, were absolutely amazing, and they sent replacement poles out to me within 24 hours.
This is the reason why I think my tent pole splintered, because as you can see, this part here shouldn't be visible, which means they've got too much elastic going through and it won't pull taut. And I think what happened was when I erected the tent, I hadn't pushed that right in, which I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to ensure that that goes in. For a tent that costs only £400, that is pretty shocking.
Wait, okay, so MSR claim that it's 1.6 kilos packed. They have not included the fact that you need 4 to 5 extra guy lines than what they provide you with, and you do need them. If you don't, you'll get condensation. they have not included the fact that you will need 5 to 6 extra pegs than what they have given you. And you will need, and one thing I would recommend you get, is the footprint to go with it. That will help protect the bottom of it and give you extra warmth, and also try to combat condensation as well. So you're looking at close to around 2.1, 2.2 kilos altogether, and MSR are desperately trying to reduce the weight by not giving you everything you need to go with it, because on paper it looks lighter, and I think that's the reason why there aren't enough vents in it as well.
The fact that the Access 110 is in a pitch first can be problematic in British winter, because it does rain, and that rain will go down onto the inside of the tent before you get the fly over it. You must ensure that you wipe it up, because if you don't, you'll already have liquid in there, which will make condensation even worse. There's also other bits of manufacturing that I don't think are great, like this piece of thread here came like this. Shouldn't be like that on a tent this expensive.
Now you're looking at about £450. Is it worth that money? Personally, no. Not from the performance I've had, and not for use in Britain. Possibly if you're going to drier climates it might be better, and you might have, good use of it. You might have poles that don't snap or do anything mad like mine have. But from my own personal experience, and that's all I can go on, I would not particularly recommend this tent for use in British winter.